Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory and makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It keeps you slim and lowers food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It wards off colds and the flu. It lowers your risk of heart attacks and stroke, not to mention diabetes. You'll even feel happier, less depressed, and less anxious. That was a quote from Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep. And as the title suggests, the book is, unsurprisingly, about sleep. Having just finished reading the book, it's been just a total game changer, a total eye-opener for the importance of sleep. You know, the incredible positive benefits, but conversely the just incredibly wide-ranging and just extreme negative consequences of poor sleep, which quite frankly I don't think I appreciated, and I don't think many other people appreciate. Some of the negative impacts include impaired cognitive function, increased risk of car accidents, weakened immune system, increased risk of chronic diseases, mood disturbances, hormonal imbalances, decreased sex drive, increase of obesity. The list just goes on and on. Think of anything you can think of. Poor sleep will massively negatively affect that. I've not just listed these to try and terrify you. I've listed these to try and convey some of the importance and try and get that message across of how important a good night's sleep is. The purpose of this video is to give you some of the key tips and tricks, and in fact habits, of gaining a good night's sleep. I've left out some of the more obvious tips that most people know about, like drinking caffeine too late in the day, for example. All of these tips I've taken from researchers such as Andrew Huberman and Matthew Walker, amongst others. Before we get into the tips, I think it's worth dispelling a few myths. Alcohol before bed improves sleep. I only need 5 or 6 hours of sleep. You can only fall asleep with music or a film on in the background. Hitting snooze provides meaningful extra rest. Sleeping pills work. I'm not going to go into detail in this video why these are fallacies, but if you want to find out more, I highly suggest reading Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, or even research it online. Now, let's get into the tips. The first tip is probably one that you're somewhat aware of, and this is avoid bright lights before bed. Aim to stop exposure to screens or bright lights, especially blue light, at least 30 minutes before bed. Ideally, you want to give it a bit longer than that, but 30 minutes is the minimum recommended by most scientists. The reason you want to do this is because blue light suppresses the release of melatonin. Melatonin, in short, helps us start feeling drowsy and aids us getting to sleep. Tips on how to combat this. If you have an iPhone, go to settings and turn on night shift. I personally have mine set to sunrise and nightfall, where the screen will change colour, reducing the blue light content. An additional tip is you can get blue light cancelling glasses. Second tip, sleep opportunity versus sleep. Sleep opportunity is the time you spend in bed. Let's say you go to bed at 12 o'clock and wake up at 8. That is 8 hours of sleep opportunity. Now, most people, if asked how long they've slept for, assume their sleep is the same as sleep opportunity. However, when you look into this, it is often not the case. For example, you may spend 30 minutes writhing around in bed before you get to sleep. This actually therefore means you're going to have close to 7.5 hours, and in some cases even 7 hours or less. The tip with this is very simple. Give yourself more sleep opportunity. If you want to sleep for 8 hours, as is recommended, give yourself at least 8.5 hours of sleep opportunity. So if you wanted to still get up at 8, go to bed, lights off at 11:30. Tip 3, avoid lying down during the day. This is a tip I got from Matthew Dix in his book, Some Day Is Today. The premise behind this tip is to train your body into only lying down when you sleep. In a Pavlov's dog's-esque way, your body becomes trained to see lying down as the onset of sleep. In addition to this, try and avoid using your bed for anything but sleep. Do not lie in bed on your phone, do not read, etc. In the book, Some Day Is Today, Matthew Dix even goes as far as recommending to try and avoid even having sex in your bed. Tip 4, equipment. A lot of people have poor sleep due to poor sleeping conditions. Some of these are not in your control, however. A few things you can do to improve your sleep are buy blackout curtains. I'm a fairly light sleeper, so I personally like to use earplugs and an eye mask when I'm sleeping. Most of these items are incredibly cheap and are well worth the investment. Tip 5. Hot and cold. This is a lesser known tip or technique. To sleep, your body core needs to drop by 2 degrees Fahrenheit. This may not sound like a lot, but if utilised correctly, can dramatically reduce the time to sleep. The technique to do this is to take a hot bath or a hot shower before going to bed. After coming out of the bath or shower, your body will expel vast amounts of heat and plummeting your core temperature. You may have experienced this before having a hot bath, coming out feeling incredibly lethargic and tired. This in premise is exactly the same thing, and you can utilise this to help you fall asleep quicker. It has even been shown to help reduce time to sleep by up to 20%. Bonus tip, the opposite is true for waking up in the morning. Having a cold shower or a cold plunge does the exact opposite effect and helps you wake up in the morning, aside from having a slew of other incredible positive impacts. Tip 6. Regular bed and wake up times, including weekends. This is by far the most important tip, and don't just take that from me, take that from Matthew Walker himself, Andrew Huberman, anyone you can find who's an expert on this. The regular sleep and wake up times will allow you and your circadian rhythm to match up. In short, this means your body will get used to falling asleep at the same time each day. Tips to see if this is working. If you can wake up without your alarm at the same time each morning, this is generally a good sign this is working. The reason why this is the most important of all these tips, and if you're only going to implement one, make this the one you implement. The reason why is simple. If you do not get this down, the other tips will either not work or be far less effective, and in fact will be not really worth your time at all. Having only recently read the book, I've been putting in place some of these techniques and have already found some dramatic improvements in my sleep. I really hope this video has been helpful, and I'd really appreciate any comments or improvements I can make on future videos. A quick thing before I go, as an accountability thing for my channel, I want to publicly state that I'm certainly during term time aiming to release one video a week. And I just kind of wanted to come out and say that so I can be held accountable for that. If you enjoyed the video, please send me any comments, any improvements, I'd really appreciate it. And see you next time.